Hi everybody and welcome to my kitchen. I bring you the second video in my series of traditional Irish recipes. This next one is a super delicious one and it uses very simple ingredients. It comes together in minutes, so you'll be enjoying it in no time. I'm talking about Irish scones. You might also know them as scones or overseas as biscuits. The ingredients that you're going to need are, we'll start with the dry ingredients. I've got some plain flour, sugar, baking powder, some salt for seasoning. I've got cold cubed Irish butter. I've got some milk and an egg. In a big bowl, we're going to mix all of our dry ingredients. I've got my flour, my sugar, baking powder. I'm only going to grab a pinch of salt because my butter is already salted. That was 2 pinches. And just sift everything together to help to combine. Okay, next I'm going to mix together my wet ingredients. So I've got my milk and I'm going to crack my egg into it. Just give it a mix. If you saw my Irish soda bread recipe, you know that I like to keep my butter in the fridge until the very last minute because this helps to mix everything together with the flour, but also helps to give you the flakiness that you want from your scone at the end. I'm just going to put that in there. Go in with my hands and rub the butter in between my fingers and the flour to help create some kind of a breadcrumb consistency. You can totally do this in a food processor if you don't want to get your hands dirty, but I like to get my hands in there to feel how the dough is coming along. You also want to work quickly because your hands are warm, so you don't want them to melt all of the butter. Just make sure you're getting rid of any massive lumps of butter, but it's okay if you've got some bigger ones and some smaller ones. Okay, and once again, we've got to this kind of breadcrumb consistency, and this is exactly what we want to see. Next, what we have to do is mix our wet ingredients with dry ingredients. So I'm going to make a well in the center. I'm just going to pour in my liquids. Again, you can hold some of your liquid back and see how your dough is coming along, and if it's too super sticky, just don't pour any more in, and if it's too dry, just put it to rest. And go in with a big open hand and just bring everything together as quickly as you can. We want to just work this until our flour all gets a bit moist and starts coming together, just like this, into a cohesive dough. And that's looking perfect to me. Now that our dough has come together, I'm just gonna dump it out onto a flour work surface. Well floured because the dough is quite sticky. Okay, and you can put some flour on top too. And again, all you want to do is to bring all your dough together and give it a bit of shape. We're not kneading at all. Just get some of this off my fingers. Okay, and shape. Just bring it all together. Add a little bit more flour if you feel you need to. But really, I think that's about it. And now I have my ball of dough, and all I want to do is actually, you can use a rolling pin, but I'm just going to do it with my hands. You can just flatten it down until it is about 3 centimeters in height. Just try to get it even. That looks about right. So I've got I guess this is a fluted dough cutter, cookie cutter, and already a baking sheet ready with some parchment paper. I'm just going to dip my cutter into some flour to prevent sticking. And this is an important part, and I've learned this the hard way. When you're cutting out your scones from the dough, make sure you push down vertically and pull back up. Don't twist to try and get it out of the dough, because then this is going to mean that your scones won't rise upright. They'll get a bit wobbly and maybe spread out a little bit on you. So press down. And that's your perfect little scone going into the baking sheet. And just continue doing that for all of your dough. With the little scraps that you have left, you can actually put them back together, but again, try not to overwork it, and just keep cutting scones until you have no more dough left. My dough gave me enough for 15 scones. You can see the last few ones are a little bit smaller and a little bit kind of crooked on top, but that's fine. They're going to taste delicious anyway, and you know, we're not in a factory. This is homemade food, so you want it to all have a little quirkiness and each one to be a little bit different. It's still going to taste delicious. Because I didn't use all of my liquid, because it wasn't necessary, I'm actually going to use the leftover to glaze my scones and save an egg. You can do it with your hands. Today I'm using a pastry brush. And these are ready to go in the oven now at 190 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes, and let's do it. My timer just went off, so I'm gonna check on my scones. Here are my scones. You can see they've risen quite well. The ones that, you know, the last few ones obviously haven't risen as tall or as evenly as the other ones, but I mean, that's to be expected. The more you work your dough, the kind of tougher it gets as well, so obviously that means that it's not going to rise as much. But this first one look amazing, and look at this one, how much it's risen. I'm just going to put them now in the cutting rack and leave them there for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then we can cut into one and taste it. My scones are now cool enough, and I've got some strawberry jam, some freshly whipped cream, and butter, because for me that is the only way to have your scones. You can see how nicely they've risen. They've got a lovely brown colour on the top as well. So let's just open one up and see what it looks like inside. Oh, it's nice and flaky or crumbly. That's because of the way that we rub the butter. And it's also perfectly baked inside. It's a little bit warm, which is fantastic, because I'm going to put in my butter. For me, butter always should go first, followed by the jam, and finally your whipped cream. And let's give it a taste test. This makes me so happy. It is such an amazing flavor combination. Oh, the scones are just perfect. And they're still warm because they just came out of the oven. Oh my god. With a nice cup of tea, I'm in heaven. That's it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. You can see this recipe comes together so quickly, so you can have freshly made scones whenever you want. I'm gonna enjoy this little one with a nice cup of tea. So with that, I leave you and enjoy. Please share, like and subscribe, and comment below if you like the recipe.